Today I'm talking to Dane Quirk of the Saturn Rooster channel, and he's got an amazing theory about the universe and harmonic numbers. And so let's get straight into it. So Dane, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me back.
You've discovered some more things, haven't you?
Yeah, a few more things from the fretboard, and also just kind of basic arithmetic, and which all ties back to the fretboard again. So it's kind of just been especially with the arithmetic stuff that's come along. Just like I was talking with you and Paul the other day about the 1 to 27 stuff. Yeah, and it's sort of all just still on the fretboard. So I'm like, well, it's still, yeah. Just keeps reinforcing itself, you know. And
so just remind us, so the fretboard is basically, you've been looking at the proportions and the dimensions on a guitar.
Yeah, so it started last August, and I was looking at, we look at the harmonic series, you know, the 144 and 432, that kind of whole graph of those notes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was all interesting. And there's the 144,000 casing stones, or we've got in Angkor Wat 216 big faces at the temples there. You know, there's 216. You know, all these numbers everywhere, like India or Cambodia or Egypt, or it doesn't matter where you go, you always find those numbers. And then these measures where we've got cubits and feet and inches and kilometers and all this. And it's sort of these arguments between all the metrologists and these different measures, the systems of measure. And this was created in 1700 for the centimetre and all that. And the cubits are old, and nobody really knows. Even Randall Carlson, for example, would say, we don't know how old the inch or the mile is. You know, we know it's old, but we don't really know where it started. And we always look at them as sort of separate and from separate cultures at separate times. But it seems from what we're looking at with fretboard stuff that they all sort of are from the same. They will come out of each other.
And so when you're analyzing the distances on the fretboard, if you have, in particular, if you're starting off from a 630 measure, whether it's millimeters or, as you said the other day, feet, which would be weird, you're going to find these same numbers cropping up.
Yes, it's like, they say when it's beautiful and simple and like an Occam razor, like it's sort of I really lost the words how to put all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and because an instrument is a physical thing that we can't do anything about, you know, if you put your finger up on a violin, you know, you don't have frets, so you know when you're a bit sharp and you know when you're a bit flat. And it can only, you don't have to move your finger a little bit, but you can hear that slight little difference, especially when you've got a great ear. But really most people can hear it when it's, flat enough. You can hear, well, they didn't quite hit that note, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, with a fretboard, it's just what we know is the half a string is an octave, and that's just kind of, not much man can do about it. You know, I sort of got lucky, as I was saying the other day, about the 630 millimeter thing, or 630, whatever you like. At 630, I was looking at 23rd of August. I thought last year, I'll just have a look at the fretboard and how the luthier, when they've got a fretboard and they're putting in the frets, and they've actually got to cut the slots and slip in the frets. And I thought there'd have to be a ratio or some kind of mathematical formula, a simple one that they must use to do the 12, or the equal temperament, the 12 notes. You know? So on the guy that I just happened to pick this day, he picked, and he kind of said it in the video. He's like, I'll just pick 630. And then he shows you the ratio, which is that 1 divided by the square root of 2.
Yeah.
And it comes at 0.944. And I'm just following along and just watching. And he says, it comes up on a spreadsheet on his computer. This all sort of pops up. And I just happened to notice, fret 1 was 35.4. I've sort of drawn a bit of a fretboard there. But the first fret was 35.4 millimeters, and the second one was 68.7. And because I recognise those, I thought, well, 354 is the moon, and so 687 is the Mars, sidereal, and then I thought, oh well, okay, it looks like we're on just something here as far as I've seen many people like Pythagoras or the masters say that the universe is a stringed instrument, and I thought, So when I'd sort of already heard that in the past, and then I thought, okay, well, seems like, this is kind of, maybe this is what they're talking about.
Huh.
And then I thought, oh, well, Saturn being the limit or the boundary, I thought, well, the 24th fret, surely Saturn would be at the 24th fret. If he's going to be anywhere, that's where he'd be. So I went to the 24th and I realised 157.5 is the millimetres from the bridge up. I times it by 24 and got 378. It's with a zero anyway. And I thought, well, there's Saturn. So I had the moon and Mars and Saturn, and it was all just popping out. And I was like, well, I think I know what they mean now.
Yeah.
That it's a stringed instrument.
Is it the guitar imitating the universe, or you're the universe imitating the guitar, or a bit of both?
It's chicken and the egg, isn't it?
Yeah. So you got these amazing numbers.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because I think we're so used to, especially in the modern era, we're just so used to thinking that we're from a big bang and it was all just a bit of a oopsie daisy accident. And but I've never been. I was a Christian for a couple of years when I was married when I was 24, and I went to church. My ex-wife was a churchy girl when she was younger.
Yeah.
And she left the church and rebelled and we smoking pot and just hanging out as a hippie and traveling Australia in a van. And I'd known her in high school, and then I went to church with her, so I got to know the Bible a little bit too during those years. But these things are just so ancient, whether it be biblical or all those religious, spiritual, ancient things. And they seem to me, I look at the pyramid now like a giant Bible in stone. It's like the university and the Bible, and it's kind of like they were trying to,
This is the Great Pyramid of Giza, right? Yeah, that you mean.
Yeah. Or any of the places, like I said, India or Cambodia, they always have these numbers. And, we say, and that's the other thing too, is it's like, we could say they never met each other. So it's like, oh, they were too far away. You hear all the experts and scholars say, oh, look, they won't travel on those distances. They didn't know each other. So even if we go with that and we just sort of take that for face value, it wouldn't matter. From what I've discovered here, even if they never met, they could all discover this on their own without ever meeting. So that's like another nail in the coffin. Like, well, they wouldn't have had to have met. They don't have to have met. They could have just done this, and
it's there. It's in the universe.
Yeah, you move your so with a monochord, when you're looking at the monochord, they used to have like a movable fret, so you could move along. Yeah, and you could sort of tell where they call them half steps or full steps.
Yeah.
Half a tone or semitone so those things are just kind of the way that they are. You can't do anything about it. So if you were to mark on the piece of wood, you've got your piece of usually they use gut for the strings back then, and you would just sort of mark them. And if you had any measure, you'd realise, as you go right down the fretboard, as you get to the 24th fret, they're quite skinny, they're quite thin, narrow frets, but the first fret's quite wide. So you notice that there's like this very consistent, smaller all the way to the end. And so their distances, they're kind of measures. And because it's a very tangible, practical, thing, then it's kind of we can't really argue about it. It's one of those things. That's why I like it so much.
It's just there.
It's just there, yeah. So all
if you look, Saturn is your favorite. Tell me about Saturn then.
Well, so there's two measures, because you obviously can measure from the top of the fretboard, where the nut, it's called the nut at the very top, and then down the bottom it's the bridge. So the 157.5, it's coming up from the bridge, the back of the guitar. And from the nut, it's actually 472.5.
Oh yeah, another harmonic.
Yeah, from the other way. So, and that is you'll see it's just as incredibly, immaculately beautiful as the 157.5.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that in a second. But so the 157.5 I've found recently, which has just really blown my mind, is that a 16 gone, the internal angles are 157.5 degrees. So I was like, whoa, okay, hang on a minute. So I used the 157.5 degrees and sorry, the 16, because that's the internal angles on a 16 gone. And I just divided that 472.5 by 16, just mucking around on the calculator type of thing.
Yeah.
And it came out as 29.531. And I mean, that's to 3 decimal places, perfection of that moon cycle, 29.531. And I'm like, okay, well, there's the Saturn moon matrix. And they are very closely related. As you know, they're 29.5 years for Saturn and 29.5 days for the moon. We're actually playing music, you know, because it's sort of an unbreakable law and it's a practical thing that we have in reality, like an instrument. And I just sort of think, well, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So this doesn't depend on any particular measure. This is about proportion, but it does depend on number. So you can have any particular unit you want in theory, right? And as long as you start with the 630 for the total length, you're going to get these numbers when you subdivide. Isn't that right?
Yes. But then I realised, well, with say cubits, you know, with all the rod, you know, and I know there's a bit of a discrepancy with like 25.3 or 52.3 or 52.5.
Right.
When you look at it on a ruler, you know, we're talking like this tiny little, very tiny amount. And
it's much less.
Yeah, it is. And even with Petri, like we're using our modern, you know, our gear, but when somebody's making a ruler thousands of years ago, I mean, I think because of the beautiful arithmetic, like the very simple discoveries I've been finding since these last chats we had a while ago, is that because the 52.5, you know, Tesla said is the power of 3, 6, and 9.
Yeah.
So, you know, and so when you go to cubit, the royal rod or the royal cubit, and you times the 52.5 by 3, I think it was 157.5. And I'm like, whoa. And then the next one was times by 6, it's 315, which is the very center of the string. It's the 12th fret. And then we times it by 9, I think. Yeah, 9. And we get 472.5. It's back to, I'm like, well, there you go. So we were using the 1 divided by the square root of 2, like our modern way of getting this Luthier fret spacing. So they wouldn't have been using that, I don't imagine. But when we use the royal cubit and we times it by 3, 6, and 9, we're getting the same thing. So I'm like, whoa, no wonder that was a royal cubit, all right. They knew what they were doing. So then
you think maybe the royal cubit is part of this whole system that it's a natural system on the one hand, like a divine system, you might say, and also it's something that humans have used in their creations, like when they make a guitar or maybe a cubit rod.
Yes, I think everything, Melissa, like this is my theory I'm putting out for the world, is that the theory of everything, they knew what it was and they got it from a stringed instrument. Even when 12 constellations, you know, I ask astrologers and stuff, why did they pick Saturn as time? Out of anything you could have chosen, or why even bother with picking a planet for time even at all? What inspired that? What made them think Saturn is time? What gave them that idea? You know. So from what I'm looking at, you know, I realise now. I think I understand why they picked Saturn as time.
Yeah. So because of this number 780 in particular, and because it's at the very edge as well of the known, of the 7 ancient planets as they were.
Yeah. And 12 constellations. Why 12? You know, why not?
Yeah.
You know, why not 80? Why not any number? Any number at all? 12. They were like 12. And the reason is, you know, 12 times, and you go, and you're at the octave. So they did that and went 12. It's just so simple. It's so childlike, and you can show the kids, and you can go to another galaxy, another dimension, and imagine that you'd be the same, you know. It's just,
Yeah.
it's always just going to be the case. So yeah,
Yeah.
that day I was very lucky on the 23rd of August last year, because he could have picked, most guitars. I know that there's Gretsch and I think Gibson. They do 630 sometimes, and 24 frets isn't very common. 22 most of the time, but it's just, it doesn't matter how many we want to choose, just to make a ukulele or whatever you like. But when we're looking at sort of the theory of everything and listening to Pythagoras and these guys say the universe is a stringed instrument, it's making sense that 2 octaves is 24. So the 12th fret is the first octave, 24th fret's obviously the second octave. And because they get so skinny towards the end, you really couldn't put many frets in there anyway. You wouldn't be able to sort of play them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a number of frets. And it just happens to correspond to what's going on up there. So it's like, well, how do they know to do that? How do they know what's going on here? So
Yeah. So it's all about systems of knowledge, as well as something that seems to be just naturally present in the universe. So would you say that maybe the fretboard, the pyramid, maybe even the circle could be seen as teaching devices or repositories of knowledge, not just things that seem to use just nice numbers like 12 and 24? Are they maybe containing something more important?
Yeah, I really do just think they had a stringed instrument of some kind, and they because they went, I just sung those 12 notes. It came out of this. Everything came from the observation of the stringed instrument. That's why there's 12 constellations, and
Yeah.
they didn't pick 13 or 14. They'd say Ophiuchus and all that, but and I actually have thought about that a bit, and really I wasn't including the open string. So when you have the open string, it then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's 13.
Yeah, I think of that sometimes in relation to Ophiuchus, because it's like the 12 and then 1, if you like the 12 apostles and then Jesus, and you find that in other religions, you have 12 plus 1. So that's important as well, because Ophiuchus, the constellation, occupies a really important place in the sky. So I tend to think of it as that one, that extra one, or the main one,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was speaking to an astrologer, his name's Merlin, actually, I've mentioned him before on my channel, and I said to them in a live the other day, him and Dr. Longo on, what is it, the Florida channel? Bloody hell. I can't remember, my mind blank, but Dr. Longo, anyway, they said to them in their live, because, to us, they just look like dots in the sky, these stars, Is it really a horse, Sagittarius shooting a bow? Or if that was all wiped out, we got hit by an asteroid and there's pockets of people left, would they still draw the same, the twins and the Pisces and whatever? Would that re-emerge the same, And I tend to think not. I sort of would think you can sort of draw lines anywhere, can't you? A lot of people do make that argument that, we're just drawing dots up there and making up things. Like people can't really shooting a bow. But I just, because of this fretboard practical thing down here on Earth, and because they're, even when we sing these notes without a stringed instrument, they are obviously very nice, even equal steps. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
tangible.
So, Dane, let's go back to your whiteboard, your famous whiteboard. What do you have on your whiteboard? So you have the planets.
Well, Jupiter, I realise, is on the 19th fret.
Yeah.
Because it's 19, and he's actually, what is it? It's 210 millimeters, on the 19th fret. So 19 times 210, and you get 399. So we've got a whole bunch of planets and stuff just coming out of this distances measured on the fretboard. Yeah.
Amazing. So to go back to the idea of like what's actually naturally there in the universe, how can we account for that, or can we? Is it even something we can understand?
Well, these are the big questions, aren't they? Because I've never, like, I went to church for those couple of years, and I was going sort of for my wife, really, I was kind of trying to keep her happy, and I thought, maybe there's something in it too. Like, I wasn't sure. I don't know if there's a God or no God or something, but I think it does pull us right back into what the ancients knew, and that there's a design, and it's sort of like logos. Logos sort of is love, isn't it, in the old language, the logos, and it's sort of logic. And order out of chaos, and so this is very ordered. The fretboard, and so because of these beautiful measures that just are there without us having to do anything.
Yeah, it reminds me as well. So the Greeks would call it logos, and then in Egypt they would call it Ma'at, and Tao, I think, and India. There are all these very ancient ways of wanting to put order into your everyday life, into your creations, derived from the skies.
Yeah,
that's amazing, isn't it, when you think of it?
It really is, and it does without it's almost like, well, there has to be some kind of God. I mean, I'm not an atheist or either way, but it's there's no. I was doing this the other day, and then with my fingers, like, well, the ratios are all perfect, and you can study the eyeball of your entire life. And it's just mind-bending, We're miracles in it. It's just a miracle, the entire thing. So, because they can be rediscoverable, like a stringed instrument, again, an asteroid hits the Earth, pockets of people left, all knowledge is gone. One day, someone might, figure out us stringing up something, and they're going to find the same thing in 10,000 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah. So it's always going to apply, no matter what.
That's interesting that you said in 10,000 years, though, because you need that cycle of getting back to that way of thinking, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying it's 10,000 years exactly, but it would take an awfully long time, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And I think, I don't know what came first. Well, I think even that video you sent today about Milo, and he said, saying, I think the first thing they were measuring was time. And I tend to lean that way as well, because even on a compass, you've got minutes and seconds on a compass, and it's
This was a video, by the way, for anyone watching this. It was an interview with Stefan Milo, and he was talking about instruments of measure and markings on caves to do with time cycles. So it was really good.
Yeah. And those really old bones. I mean, he said there was one there for 100 and something thousand, 170,000 years, he said, one of the bones.
Yeah.
I don't know how it lasted that long. That's incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that other bone that you've seen?
With the moon?
Yeah.
Like going up.
Yeah, like a snake sort of a pattern. And,
yeah.
Like a coiled snake a little bit. And and even the archaeologist said that person would have had to have been basically sitting in the same spot, there, maybe against the wall, cave wall, looking up, and they've done it for 30 days. And,
yeah. And we never even look at the moon. I mean, sometimes we do. The other day there was an amazing full moon, and it was the 1st of February, and I'm sure it was the same all over the world, but it was just amazing and rising. But then we look at it for a minute, and then we just move on and we forget about it. So we're just not in tune with all that kind of thing, are we?
No, we've definitely lost most of that kind of even interest, really, haven't we? We don't even really look up that much anymore. I actually had a guy today on YouTube on Megalithomania channel. They had a new video up, and Andrew Collins and Hugh were saying, making the case that the archaeologists were saying that because they've been digging up some new stuff really recently. That's what the video was about, and that they found some domestic dwellings, And Andrew and Hugh were sort of saying, it doesn't, maybe they're temporary, but then they maybe come and go from there. Maybe a couple of people stayed to look after the place, but they were making the case that it really wasn't a permanent dwelling. But in my mind, it takes a long, long time to figure out these cycles and count, whether it be synodics, but also conjunction cycles, like you've got the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, you've got Saturn and Venus, Saturn and Mars, and then all of them have the there's just so many different conjunction cycles. And it
Yeah.
would just take long periods of time to work that out. And the best way to do an accurate count of these things and get, alignments, you'd have to be in the same spot. It would be best to be somewhere with great vision of the sky for a long period of time. So
Mhm.
there's other places too. I can't remember. It's in America, one of them, but it's a big circular structure. There's all these dwellings basically, and they say they're granaries, but there's no window. So they thought,
Oh, I know the place you mean. Yeah.
there's about 100 of rooms or so, but there's no
Yeah.
window. And to my mind, I just sort of thought, well, if you're up all night, and you've got these young'uns too, so you've got the old wise magi type druids or whatever name they call them then, and you've got these up and coming budding astronomers, and during the night, you're doing all this work on the sky and counting and calculating. You'd have to sleep during the day. You wouldn't want any windows. You'd want it to be dark during the day.
Rock and roll behavior, right?
Yeah. So you've got to sleep somewhere, and you wouldn't want it to be too bright. So I'm just thinking, there's no windows because you've got to go have a good sleep and get up and do it all again the next night.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sort of makes a bit more sense to me that they were sleeping in those rooms, and then they probably had it's like a school. So it's an observatory and it's a school and sort of all of these things, and then they buried it. So they say that they buried it.
Yeah, and then you can imagine them going from site to site as well over their career. They might study at one latitude and then they might be sent to some other place at another latitude to see how, I suppose, especially the moon and the sun behave differently. And you can imagine these schools will be connected.
Yeah, like even Matt from Apocalypse, he says about the zenith. So you have to go to near the equator, and to get that straight over the head of the sun to go down the well, and you can only do that on certain latitudes of the Earth, and that changes over that 41,000 year cycle. And so, how did they know about that? I mean, that's a long period of time. So
you kind of almost need, well, at least half of those 41,000 years, don't you, to kind of figure it out. That in itself is pretty impressive, because you have to really question, when people say, oh, civilization began in about 3000 BC, is it really possible that they could have all that knowledge just like that overnight from having been, just wanderers with no particular purpose the day before?
Yeah,
I don't know. But what's interesting as well, so you're kind of looking at all this, implying this really long time span of study and continuous study and schools. And then on the other hand, all these things are linked then that come out of it. So you've got the music, the astronomy, the metrology, the buildings, and so many other things that seem to be designed based on this study.
Yeah. Like, there's the scholars say that man created number, but then you've got the other camp that says man discovered number.
Yeah. What would you say?
I'm in that camp. They discovered numbers.
Yeah.
And the number is, when I was younger, my brother's a brilliant musician, well past anything I could have ever did. And he can sight read, he can just look at a page and play it. And he writes orchestra music, like for every instrument, and he can do it in his head exactly like Bach used to. Like he can just write the trumpet piece, every piece in from his head, and then just play it. Like it's, that's another whole skill. But
yeah, musician's great.
We're always saying, like the guy that taught my brother that stuff, he was our next door neighbour, and knew my mum and dad when he was 16, and we've known him as like a family friend forever, sort of a guy. And he went to the conservatory when he was younger, and he teaches at high school music and science. And he always said music is number, number is, so they're both the same thing. You can't separate.
Yeah.
And I never really understood that. I was sort of like a bit of a rock and roll. I just wanted to get on the guitar and play a few riffs and be cool and get a few girls. I was just kind of a bit of a buffhead. But I loved it, and wrote music. I just wrote some riffs and just rock out basically. I'm not very fancy, but yeah, it's they're right. I think they discovered numbers. The moon's an easy one. You can count from full moon back to full moon, and that's an easy one. The sun's 365 days. That might have taken a bit longer. And then they would have probably taken a bit longer again. But somewhere along the line, I reckon the musos spoke to the astronomers, spoke to the math dudes, and they had a meeting and they're like, oh, 378 for Saturn. And the arithmetic guys are like, oh, hey, look at this. And the musos are like, oh, look. So I think they realised that as above, so below,
As
that
above, so
was
below.
somewhere back there, and they realised, hang on a minute, up there he's doing this. And so how up there know how to do that? And I think they would have probably had a party around the world and built pyramids. So, and all sorts of structures, temples, to celebrate and preserve this and tell us above is below is above. The universe is a stringed instrument, and they were right. They weren't speaking in analogies or metaphorically. They were actually telling us the truth. It's a stringed instrument.
Yeah.
Well, this now gets really exciting because this is what I've found since our last chat, and that's why I said, hey guys, I really want to come back on and show you what I've found, because I did all the fretboard stuff and we could see that, but then I wanted to understand it more. There's something to all this. I need to know a bit more about the quadrilium. Is that one? It's four different disciplines that are really just the one discipline of been sort of saying. So when I told you and Paula, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way up to 27. So 1 to 27, the sum of all that is 378. So 1 to 27 is.
So you're adding up all the numbers, 1 plus 2 plus 3, all the way to 27.
Yeah.
And you're getting the Time Lord.
378. And then, so what we do, we go 3 times 9 is 27. Okay, that's fine. 3 times 9 is 27. But 3 times a nonagon, which is 9-sided. The internal angles of one nonagon is 1,260. All right, so 1,260 degrees is one nonagon. That's the sum of the internal angles of a nonagon. So 3 9s. So if we've got 3 nonagons next to each other, it's 1,260 times 3. So we've got 3 times 9 is 27. We know that from 1 to 27 it's 378. And the 3 nonagons together is 3780. So it just keeps referencing, and I think this is what this Ouroboros is all about. Like, it just keeps eating its own tail. Keeps self-referencing itself. It's like you can check your own work, whether it be arithmetic, whether it be astronomy, whether it be the fretboard, or whether so you've got music, harmony, you've got arithmetic, astronomy, and geometry. So the geometry as
They're all connected. They're all part of the same system.
They're all saying, Saturn.
Saturn, you're the king.
Yeah.
Wow. Because at the end of the day, it's about time. I mean, it's about space as well, but it's about time. So it makes sense that that particular number should generate or should be linked to all these other numbers, right? And it's beautiful. Like, and that 27 is important. That 27 is the moon as well. 27.3 days in a sidereal month.
Yes. So we know about all this Saturn cube stuff, and there's cubes all over the world, whether it be the Jews with the little cubes and the Saturn stuff, and then we've got the Muslims going around Mecca and the black cubes, and then we go all to the capital cities and you find a big art piece. In Sydney, there's a big cube sort of on its side. It's right in the middle of the city, and they're everywhere in lots of cities.
Yeah.
So these, I don't know, elite families or these high priest classes that are kind of all like this, they know stuff. They've got good old books and ancient knowledge, and they're really teaching us. They're sort of initiating the entire world, unbeknownst to the entire world. You don't even know kind of what they're up to. I'm sort of realising what they're up to, maybe. So with the flower of life, it's 6. You've got 7 circles when you combine them all, like the flower. And that's how you draw a cube. The best way to draw a cube is with the flower of life.
In 3D, yeah.
So when I'll just do this now. It's like so I just thought, okay, if you're really, and Dennis Oven, and way back in its early stage of discovering all of this, when you look at this, draw this little beautiful thing without you don't even have any measures yet, just mucking around in circles. And you've got a little 2 sticks that sort of is, where's my little compass here? I had it out a second ago. One of these things,
Oh, yeah.
And you draw a few circles and you go, oh, look, you call your buddy over, look, there's a flower. And there's 6 petals. So it's like, I'll use the word God, but it's like God's trying to teach us these really simple, childlike, easy things. So I thought, okay, 6 petals. Okay, well, let's just use that as like a boundary, like a, like a restriction. Let's just stick to like a rule of 6, I call it. So I went sort of 1 to 6, 1 plus 2 plus 3, you get 21. And then you do 1 times, 2 times 3 times, and you get 720. So the sum of adding up is 21, and the timesing is 720. When you times 21 by 720, you get 1512, which is half the base of the Great Pyramid. It's 2 sides. Because you times it by 2.
Yes, 1512.
And you get 3024. Right? And you can also go 6 times 7 times 8 times 9, and you also get 3024.
Hang on, hold the board still for a second because it's just hard to see.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's just coming into it, which is it wasn't focusing. Yeah, that's perfect now. You can see that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it's simple sort of stuff. So I kept sticking to the rule of 6. Now this one I love, and it seems maybe like a nothing burger, but it really just blows me away. Is so when you do the doubling now, as you know, and Norman Wildberger, and people that do great stuff on Sumerian tablets and all the old math, the ancient math, like memorize the times tables. They just did this doubling, the doubling thing that they do.
Yeah.
What a great system. I'm teaching my daughter copy at the moment about that because it's heaps easier than learning at your times table. And so when I go 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8 plus 16 plus 32, that's 6 steps. So I stuck to the 6. I'm taking it to the power of life. I'm just going to stick with this kind of rule of 6 sort of design.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let's add those up, and it's 630, or 63, sorry, 63.
So that's really key.
Yeah.
Did you fall over at that point?
Wait, no, you're going to fall over now. You ready? So wait for this. This is like the best ever because the fretboard, 1, there's steps, it's natural steps. They're just natural. And because we've done 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, that's 6 steps. We've got 63. But if you times it by the 6 steps, what do you get? You get 378.
Oh.
Isn't that so
Dane,
now the Saturn
magic.
cube. This is the Saturn cube. Because we've gone 6 steps, the flower gives us the cube. We're just sticking with the rule of 6. We've added up all the doubles to 6, 1, 2, that's 6 steps. 63 times 6, 378. I'm like, oh my God. No wonder there's cubes everywhere. So here's another one, just because otherwise I'll forget like I always do. But, so the 7 days, they say the Sumerians got that from the 7 planets. So, and 7 days, 24 hours, that's ancient. That's right back to at least Mesopotamia, maybe earlier. So we've got how many minutes in that? So 7 days is 10,080 minutes. So then, like I say about the decoder ring, we've got the Pythagorean harmonic series, which is just 1 doubled and 1 tripled, and you get the 1, 4, 4, 3, 2, and all those numbers. And one of the other decoder rings, I think, is laying the radius around a circle, and we get 6 times and a little bit. So it's 6.285, and it's when you plug it into a calculator, 44 over 7, it's 6.285714, and it just repeats like 285,714. So 285.
This is basically 2 pi based on 22 over 7, right?
Yes. Yep. And I like tau. I don't know. The 3
Yeah, I like
point.
tau. We go with tau.
Yeah, I don't know why. But it's just half. It's just half the tau. But yeah, so we've got and of course 7 days that repeats. It goes in a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes around and around. So okay, let's do the 7 days in minutes and times it by the circle. 6.08. And we get 63360. And that's how many inches in a mile. So we've got like time and we've got inches in a mile. So where did it come from? The ball, right there. Now what did they do? They divided that by 12 and they get 5280. There's the feet in a mile. So they've used again the 12 frets of the fretboard or the 12 equal steps of the equal temperament. We call it that now. It's always sort of a natural thing, People say that's modern, but it's ancient. You can't change it. It's old as, and it'll be there in another million years. So they've divided it by 12 and you get the feet.
Yeah.
So there's one measure. Hey, all the metrologists and Megalithomania and Ralph Ellis and all the boys that I've been a little bit prickly with over recent times. But I love all those guys. Like those guys have taught me everything about everything. And I kind of I hope they see this sort of stuff that I'm doing there because it's on the fretboard, it's tangible, it can be rediscovered even if, a cataclysm or something. So it can always be rediscovered in the same way over and over and over again. That's what's so beautiful about it.
So that's a really good example of how you can discover numbers, like the universe is number, right?
And if you had a pile of rocks, and you've got 1 rock, and 2 rocks, and 3 rocks, and you just add them up, you can see very practical, simple things of just doing it with just a pile of rocks. If you do it, you don't even need like our modern numbers. They used to have like dot, 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 and then a line. You can represent numbers in any kind of shape or different way that you like, but the principle still is the same, no matter what it looks like, and, the way that we draw it. But all these things still remain the same. So there's our inches and miles and feet, all there from time and 2 pi. And then we'll keep our 1080 up there and we'll divide him by 16.
Yep.
And you get 630. But then if we go 16 squared, we can divide that again by 16.
Yeah.
And that's when we get that 39.375. And that's kind of the inches in a meter.
Yeah.
So
an ancient meter, just to be like slightly different from the modern meter,
slightly different. But like I say about the ruler, the modern ruler, if we're using our modern instruments, because I'm going the arithmetic is like 1 and 1 is always 2 type of thing. You can't, it's just always the case. Because that arithmetic is actually, that's what obviously they were going for, you know what I mean? Our modern rulers are just kind of throwing it out by a little bit. And it's very tiny anyway,
Yeah.
So when they did this, 39.375, that's our sort of meter in inches. That's also 256, which is 16 squared. And that's also the note of C in the Pythagorean harmonic series. Now, 256 in, I think it was like the medieval or the Renaissance period, or they were doing all that sort of, all the geniuses were doing their stuff. They called this philosophical C philosophical pitch or scientific pitch. It never really took off, but it seemed to be a big deal to them, philosophical pitch or.
So that's a key number.
It's a key number. So when we divide this 10,080 by 256, we get that 39.375, which is the meter.
Wow, that's actually really interesting.
Yeah,
so you have these harmonic numbers producing this value that's a known value in inches.
Yes. And when we go 256 times 2 pi or tau, times that by tau, we get 1 point, or it's not even a point, it's just 1609, and a few little bits after it, which is how many meters there are? Mile, 1609.
That's really
So
interesting.
isn't that unbelievable? 256 times.
Yeah. So there's a bit of rounding going on if you use the 39.375 inch meter, right? But that works perfectly. Yeah. It's
So,
just if you want to use the modern meter, then you have to multiply by 8,000 divided by 8,001, I think, to go between the 375 to the actual modern meter. But it's so close.
But it's to me, that's just sort of, I just really think it's about the constructing of a ruler or a tape measure. And a lot of the time they were using rope with knots in it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking about such tiny, we're using modern
It's
instruments.
tiny, yeah. And yet they're so precise, but the system is super precise. And that's what you're showing.
Yes. Now, I've seen Robert Grant and other people sort of say, oh, we found the meter and stuff, and they show you their way. And they're like, you've got a circle and you divide it into 6, and you get this 1.6, and they're happy with just 1.6, and they think, we found it. And I'm like, yeah, it's not 1609. But 1609 is quite specific. It's not 1.6. So now that we've done C, which is a part of our musical scale, and we just times it by tau, and we've got 1609, and we've divided also the 10,080 by 256, and we've gotten the inches in a meter.
Yeah.
Both are right there, so it's given us both. So I mean, I think we're kicking goals.
Yeah.
And what was the
go
one?
on.
Yeah, I just thought then the cubit. So the cubit, that's right, G. Now the Masonic G. Right, we've got G7. Right, so they say it's the 7th letter in the alphabet.
Yeah.
You can see so many videos now. I think that we've all been quite amateurish about this, which is fair enough. We're not initiated and we're not Masons and whatever, but I think there's more to it than what we've all kind of seen before. So the 7th G in the scale is 192 hertz. When you look at the G in the G column, it's the 7th one down. It's 192. You divide this 7 days in the week minutes by 192, and you get 52.5. So we've got the cubit as well. So it's
Hang on, hold the board still because it's just out of focus. Just wait for the camera to adjust. It's coming now. Hang on. There we are, 52.5. Perfect.
So, and we're still sticking to the rules, if you know what I mean. We're sticking to the music. We're sticking to
same system.
Yeah, we're sticking to the same system. We're not deviating. We're trying to make it fit or fudge it. It's just all sort of happening, It's all very neat and tidy and beautiful, and sticking to the rules. And it's like we've got inches, feet, miles, meters, cubits.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us to the meter, though, because 52.5 centimeters, some say in a royal cubit, Egyptian royal cubit, which is, it doesn't prove the meter was a thing in Egypt, but it's definitely suggestive. 52.5.
I think it's more about the arithmetic as well, like the numbers. It's not really about like what we call the meter, maybe. It's just more like it's a numerical system. Like we're sticking to the Pythagorean harmonic series. We're doing this doubling thing that was very common in their mathematics. So we're just sort of following their methods, like the doubling, to figure out, even when you do divided by, you watch Norman Wildberger and he shows you it's just always, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and then you figure out the other column and you can work out exactly, whatever you're trying to work out just by this doubling method. So they're clearly using that method. So I'm like, okay, let's stick to their method, and we find that, yep, here we go. We've got every method. Then we've got the metric yard, and that's the very last E in the E column. It's 82944.
Yeah.
And that's in penny centimeters. You just add a 0 in front of it, and that's megalithic yard. So we're still sticking to the rules. We're still sticking to.
So just to explain, the megalithic yard is a unit that's been proposed to explain the proportions and the distances in the megaliths in the UK by Professor Alexander Thom. And I think personally that also brings us back to the meter, because that number is 12 to the power of 4 times 4 divided by 10,000. So again, we have meters, we've got the number 12, and it just all seems to be so similar.
Yep. And I just like it just all ties up with a neat little bow on top, and you just go like, oh,
I love that. Yeah.
there
Yeah.
it is. It's so beautiful.
It
Now, I
is.
will. One of the things that just I think I'll never recover from is that the base of the great, because me and Ralph were having it out about a whole bunch of things, but I said about the feet, the feet around the pyramid, and it's like, oh, it's hands or palms or fingers,
Yeah.
and and all that. And even if you do it that way, though, you can still just divide by tau or whatever. And so, for example, 3024, because in cubits, I think it was 1760 cubits is the base, the whole four sides in cubits. So you just divide that by tau, and you still get the height. So basically, I'll do it the easy way. So we'll just do it with feet. We'll do 3024 divided by tau, 6.285, and you get 481. And that's the height of the pyramid. So, you just sort of...
In feet for the Great Pyramid, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got the feet 3024 divided by tau, and you get 481. So then, but then the slope angle is automatic, isn't it? You've got the base, and the slope angle is automatic, and it just so happens that it happens to be 51.84 degrees slope angle, which is another E note.
Another harmonic number.
Another E, yeah.
So actually that brings us to the notes. So you've mentioned a couple of notes, so D and E and C.
Yep.
How does music fit in with all this?
I think it's the origin. I think it's the actual seed that birthed every measure, that birthed everything. It's like the 24-hour time and 7 days, and I think Milo was onto it. When he said they were measuring time first, and they worked out, okay, there's 7 wandering luminaries, and that's given us the 7 days. And it fits pretty nicely with 365 days. It's 364 as far as the meter, and you've got that 1 day extra. And it's all very neat and tidy, it's like a nice, simple system.
Yeah. Do you know, that reminds me of, Jean-Michel had this idea of these perpetual choirs in these holy spots in a circle. And just thinking of that now, after what you've been saying about the different notes and the significance of the notes, and it's like you're building the mechanism of the universe into your creation, especially into your music, but also across the landscape, and then you're sending it back up out there. It's like this two-way action.
Yes. Yeah. Because a quarter note, or we're talking about the other day, you've got these half steps. You can fit a note between those two, but it's very slight. And it's nice for play. You can bend a string on the guitar, as you do with like a solo, you're bending strings and stuff. So you can get these little bends and get a quarter note out of it. It just sort of flavors things. But when we're just looking at synodics and simple counts, 1, 2, 3, up to 378. It's very... Counting is kind of easy, you don't have to do too much math to this point.
Yeah.
So one more I'd love to mention is about the 3024 feet around the pyramid base and this fretboard. This, I was saying a minute ago, I could never recover from. The width of every one of these frets. So I'll just hold it up. You might even want to edit in that one that you did. But there's it looks like a lot of numbers, but you've got from the bridge and all the 24 frets, and then you've got from the nut and all the 24 frets from the nut. And then you've got the width of each of these frets. So I'll hold this up. The width of all those frets there, the first one is 35.4, second one is 33.4, the third fret is 31.5, and you just keep going. So when you divide the Great Pyramid base by any of those widths, it just so happens that you get the corresponding note, which is mental in my opinion. Like, how on earth? So Yeah, we've got 3024. Let's do an easy one. D. At the 10th fret is D and the 22nd fret. So both those frets play D. Let's go to the 22nd fret, which is 10.5 millimeters or feet or whatever you want to use, but 10.5. And you will you will use feet because people will get funny about it. So say the fretboard was 630 feet long. I mean, ridiculous, but it's, let's just say it was that long, right? Because it doesn't matter, millimeters, feet, whatever you like. So, but when you divide it by the width of that fret, you get 288. Or at the 10th fret, you get 144. Both the notes of D.
Yeah.
And every single fret does that. Like you can first
Okay.
fret, second, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. You get the actual harmonic, the hertz frequency of that fret, which is just it's the Ouroboros. It just keeps eating its own tail. Amazing.
Amazing.
David's harp. In the Bible, like we talked about David and his harp. Like, and even was I watching? I think I put it on Discord the other day. That it's Agrippa's Diary is the name of the channel, and I actually saw him talk the other day. And he's foreign, so he's got an accent, and he's always using AI voice, and it puts people off a little bit. But he's actually a real person. It's not an AI video; it's a real guy.
Yeah, which is a plus these days.
His channel's been around for quite a while. It's really, really like thorough. He's really got a lot of integrity, And I saw him speaking for the first time recently. I was like, that he's a real dude, and I thought he was. And he's been saying, like, I'm not going to do the AI voice anymore. I'm going to speak myself now. But in that video I put on Discord, he goes through Pythagoras and all the masters and about their instruments and what they were saying about it, like their quotes, and they all knew this. Like they understood this long, long, long ago, and how it all is corresponding to each other, above and below, as above, so below. And they were, it's always.
Yeah. And you know what you're saying about so many things now are AI generated, whether it's, especially on YouTube, whether it's the voice or the text or both, but just generally now, so many things are AI generated, we don't even realize half the time. And in a sense, this as above, so below, this universe as a stringed instrument and the stringed instruments as the universe, this is very grounding. This is very, it's going back to the distant past, if you like. It's connecting with a really ancient tradition, but it could be a really interesting future as well to kind of tap into, rather than this kind of AI generated content we're constantly up against, and everything kind of seeming not quite real. And this is totally real. It's based in literally the workings of the universe.
This is kind of what's inspired me, Melissa. Like, I've mentioned it briefly in other chats with you guys, if you're lying as well, and I've never been into or anything like that. But it's been freaking me out for the last year or two, really. Is that things like, the Christians know all about it, but it's like Ezekiel, Elijah. And
Right.
Look, it's all sort of business, and it sounds ridiculous, but sometimes I think there are people that play a role in life, like Pythagoras came along, or any of these people that we know about in history, and they come along, just got the mind for it, and they just play their role, and now we learn about them thousands of years later. So I'm not suggesting that I'm one of these people. I'm not trying to say that, but it's been privately on my own. I've been kind of a little bit freaked out because my birthday was on the 7th of June, and that's the 157th day of the year.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? And it just keeps going though. Now, do they say that Jesus was born? Or they argue about it, but there's kind of a heavier leaning side that say it was on a Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, but not any old conjunction. It was on a triple. And where there's three conjunctions in 1 year, and I'm born on a triple. And I'm born on 48 days before the very last one, right? So the third conjunction was in July 25th, and it's 48 days after. So I was 48 days old on the third one. Now 48 times 3, because it's the third conjunction, is 144. And my name is Dane, and it apparently equals 144 in the gematria. Now, I'm not a gematria dude, I'm not into that, but it was cubits. I was like, yeah. And then Abraham was 264, which is half of 528. And then Quirk was 456. And when you add them all up, it's 864, the size of the sun. And I'm born on a Sunday. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? I'm really interested in these topics, and I've never really known why. So I don't know, it's like a harmonic symmetry. That's all I can sort of say about it. It's not prophecy, or I'm not some weird, biblical character. It's just like this harmonic symmetry that you kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know how much to invest in it, but it's interesting.
Well, it's nice. It's nice to know, and it's really nice to find those coincidences. Well, you can call them what you like, but isn't that lovely though to find that?
Yeah. So
It's really great.
And I'm just going to keep going with it. I think it's sort of feels like my, I don't know, destiny, fate, I don't know. But like you were saying, getting back to what you were saying, that it ties us back to the past, and it also like opens up things for the future.
Yeah.
Because what I think all of this stuff is, like the seed of life, and like pyramids and temples, and 216 faces at Angkor Wat, or whatever it might be.
Mm.
These are the seeds of Judaism and Christianity and Islam and Hinduism and like all of them. And yet we're at war with each other, and they're blowing about all this stuff like our one's the right one, and your one's no good. And yet, guys, it all came from this. All of it came from this, and they wrote stories, like you said before, about the characters for the 7 luminaries, like we've got Hermes is Mercury, and it's like how you pass it along in a song or in a story form to teach like the young ones as they're coming up. So the best you can't, it's a bit boring to learn this way. But if you teach it in a story form, it's a little bit easier to remember, and this is the origins of all of these things. So the elites have gone mad, and we're all fighting with each other and stuff online and whatnot.
That's nothing new.
If we just come back to the seed, quite literally the seed, then we're one again. We're back together. We're a family.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up there. Then that's a really nice place to leave it. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, that's it. I'll probably do 1,000 more interviews just saying the same stuff today, because basically repetition is a good idea. So
that's perfect. Well, listen, thank you so much, Dane. Everyone have a look, please, at Dane's YouTube channel. And there are other interviews as well that you can watch with Dane. They're really incredible. So please follow his channel. And Dane, thank you so much for today.
Thanks, Nita.